Hi everyone. I want to start with a story that I don't personally remember, but my mom has told it to me plenty of times, so I know it pretty well. When I was little, I was very organized and goal-oriented, just like how I am now. And so I told my parents that when I turned 3, I was going to potty train myself. And I guess in my mind, that was just the perfect age for me to transition from using diapers, and I was just super adamant that it be when I turned 3. So my 3rd birthday passes, I start becoming potty trained, and around the same time, my parents took me to this jazz festival in downtown Detroit. And also around the same time, I had this pair of sparkly red shoes. They were supposed to be like the ruby red slippers from The Wizard of Oz. And I was obsessed with them. I wore them everywhere. So I wore them to this jazz festival, and I was out in the middle of everyone dancing. Everyone was watching me. I'm sure I was a super good dancer, nothing like how I am now. I must have lost that skill somewhere along the road. But everyone was watching, oohing and eyeing over how cute I was, and then I had an accident in front of all these people, and my impromptu performance was cut short. Luckily, my mom was prepared. She had everything she needed to clean me up, but as she was leading me to the bathroom, all the people that we passed said, "Oh, look at your shoes, they're so pretty." And when my mom tells me this story, she says I made the ugliest face at these people. And I said, "They have pee-pee on them." So obviously I was quite the charmer at 3 years old. But I wanted to tell that story because basically what I'm going to be talking about is how my generation is perceived. And I think it's interesting that when we were little, there wasn't really any criticism geared our way. I could do something like pee myself in public, and it's fine, and it's funny. And, now I have moved on from potty training, and I've mastered that skill and have bigger fish to fry. But as I've gotten older, I've taken note of how much criticism there seems to be geared our way collectively as young adults and as teenagers from a variety of different places. There's this notion that the generation I'm a part of, nicknamed the Millennials, is completely lazy and apathetic. Some people think that, we're glued to our electronic devices and we don't really participate in the real world or utilize our time productively. There's a very real fear among a lot of people that our generation isn't going to be of any great value to the world due to the fact that we're self-righteous and entitled and unmotivated. People think that we're too pampered and too nurtured, that we won't put effort or hard work into anything, that we don't take an interest in current events or world affairs. There is this woman, Jean Twenge, who wrote a book called Generation Me that talks a lot about what I just said. And she wrote an article for The Atlantic in which she discussed the research that she did for her book. And she said, "These analyses indicated a clear cultural shift toward individualism and focusing on the self. Millennials were less likely to say they thought about social problems, to contact public officials, to work for a political campaign, or to say they were interested in government or current events." So there is data to support these claims, obviously, and there are a lot of people that do believe that we, as a whole, as millennials, live up to this reputation, this negative reputation. And that's why we have to prove them wrong. Our generation may be incredibly different than the ones that came before us, but it doesn't have to be in a negative way. We have all this amazing potential, and we also have this vast collection of tools that I think we all take for granted. I was shocked to learn that my parents didn't have email addresses when they were my age. That just kind of blew my mind. They must have used carrier pigeons or something. I don't know how they did anything. But in all seriousness, we have this great collection of tools at our disposal. Like if you want to learn how to do something, there's a tutorial on YouTube for it. If you want to connect with someone halfway across the world, the internet makes it super easy to do so. We live in a time period where transportation, education, communication, it's all easier and more accessible than ever, and therefore the things we're doing right now, the things we're creating, they should be light years ahead of what people our age did in generations before us. This year, I planned something called an Out of the Darkness campus walk to benefit the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I did this because suicide prevention is a cause that's really important to me, and I think its severity is often underrated. Suicide is incredibly prevalent, especially in teens, being the third leading cause of death for 15 to 24-year-olds. And you don't hear a lot about suicide because there is this stigma that surrounds it, and people are scared to have those conversations about it. So I saw this problem, and I took action, which leads me to my next point, and I think it's perfectly summed up by this quote that Theodore Roosevelt said: "Complaining about a problem without proposing a solution is called whining." I think one thing that our generation is really good at is complaining. So, good job, guys. We really excel in that area. No room for improvement there, but like the quote says, if you're complaining about something but not doing anything to fix it, it's just whining. And it's not cute, it's not endearing. If you look around at the world and are dissatisfied with something, it's up to you to change it. The worst thing you can do is to assume that you don't have the power to do so, or just to say that's someone else's job. The world isn't going to change unless we change the world. As cliche as it is, we are the future. So planning the walk was a really amazing experience. The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention provided me with all the resources and information I needed to hold a really successful event. I remember being so excited when the package with all the signs and banners arrived on my porch, but as you can see in the picture, I'm kind of making a sad face because I have literally no upper body strength, so it was really hard for me to hold it in this picture. But then people started registering and donating online, and the actual day of the walk, the event, was incredibly successful. As you can see from this screenshot of our fundraising page, we far surpassed our goal of $5,000, bringing in $9,855, which was amazing. Thank you. And so it was awesome to see the culmination of all my hard work into this real and tangible goal that I could see and be proud of. And obviously it was a ton of hard work and effort and time, but it was worth it because it was a cause that I deeply cared about, and I knew I was making a difference, no matter how small, in preventing future suicides. I think as young people, we have this notion that the time in front of us is infinite, and it's not. It's going to run out. We don't know when, but that's why it's important not to delay doing the things we want to do, standing up for the things we care about. Do those things now. People say life is short, and it's not really. It's the longest thing we do, but it is quick, and it only goes by faster as you get older. I don't want to waste the time I have here, and I'm sure none of you do either. And yeah, it's way easier to say you're going to do something tomorrow and way harder to actually do something today, and I know that. And I'll be the first to admit that I can be really lazy sometimes, and my mom will vouch for that 100 million times, that some days the only physical activity I get is just my thumb scrolling on the phone. But I also know that the things that are worth it, they take hard work and effort and creativity and brainstorming and planning, and that's okay because the more you put into something, the more you're going to get out of it. There are a lot of people that are expecting us to fail, expecting us to not even try. And it's incredibly important that we contradict their expectations. We all have passions that need to be fueled through our actions. And I organized my walk, and I'm talking to you all today because I do want to make the most of my time that I have alive. I want to do more, feel more, be more. And I challenge you all to do the same. Start small, then get bigger. You'll be proving all the doubters wrong, but I believe in all of you, so you'll be proving me right. Thank you.